Just got a call from the post office that our baby chicks are in from Murray McMurray Hatcheries, so we're going to the post office to pick them up. What'd you say, bud?
No, we're going to have chicks.
We sure are. The box did not arrive in very good shape, so that's kind of disappointing, but it looks like everybody is okay. So we're gonna get them home, get them some water, and get them warm.
Today I wanted to give you 3 tips for first-time chick buyers. The first is have everything ready to go before you buy. If you're getting your chicks local or if you're ordering them online, before you even commit to that purchase, you need to have at least the basics already ready to go. There's tons of resources online that give you a full rundown of all the things you could possibly buy and all the combinations and give you 80,000 different ways to spend your money on chicks. But if you want to just keep it simple and make sure that you have the basics covered, you're going to need a brooder with the bedding, your waterer with water, I'm assuming you know to put water in it, your feeder, chick feed, and some sort of heat source, then you're ready for chicks. For those of you who are curious about our specific setup, I did try to keep it really simple. We already had this plastic bin that's pretty large, so I got some pine shavings. There are approximately, 8, 9, maybe 10 inches of pine shavings in there, so it's good and deep, and that actually worked out really, really well. The little screen that you see in there was solely for the purpose of trying to keep the food and water cleaner. So the idea is that with that hardware cloth mounted on that frame, with the waterer and the feeder sitting on top of it, that they would not be tracking stuff into it. And by and large, that did actually work pretty well. But that gets me to my second point. Tip number 2, be prepared for problems. Some problems might be really small and easily fixed. Others might be a little bit larger, things that you didn't anticipate, maybe health issues with your chicks. So you need to be informed from the get-go, but you also need to be ready to react when you need to. So specific to this screen contraption here, I discovered that chicks spill a lot of feed. It must have been at least 50% of the feed. It's not that big of a deal, except for the fact that they couldn't get to it, so it was just waste. Well, I had another problem too. The deep bedding system works great in the areas where the chicks are able to scratch around. So even though the hardware cloth solved one problem, it kind of created another problem. All the chicks' droppings and all that excess food were going into an area where they could not scratch around. This is a great place to apply the permaculture principle of the problem is the solution. So in this case, I knew that I just needed the chicks to scratch around. So the solution was pretty simple. I just moved that wire frame to the other side of my little brooder and let the chicks scratch around on the other side. They would get up some of that feed that they spilled, scratching around in the bedding. They would also scratch everything else deeper, and that really helped with the odor. You might run into other little issues. One of the issues with this deep bedding system with the pine shavings is that it creates a lot of dust. So keep that in mind if you're going to be doing this in your dining room or your living room. They are scratching around, they're flapping around, and there is just going to be a lot of dust. So be prepared for that. The biggest problem that I faced though was poopy butt, or pasty butt, I think some people call it. I'll link to another video here that goes a little bit more in depth about how we dealt with that and more importantly, why we dealt with that. But you're probably going to run into some sort of health issue. Hopefully it's going to be something really simple and easy to solve like poopy butt or pasty butt, but you need to be prepared for whatever you might come across. Tip number 3, and this is the one where I made the biggest mistake.
I'm getting a delayed start this morning, but I'm going to check on the chicks after their first night in the chicken tractor.
Have the next step ready. We started out with full-grown chickens, so we didn't go through the chick phase initially, and those chickens were already in our chicken tractor. I had my long-term plan. When the chicks get big enough, they'll go to the chicken tractor. I had also researched how to integrate chicks with chickens, so I was ready. The piece of information about how old chicks need to be to integrate them with grown chickens somehow escaped me. So I did not realize that really ideally your chicks need to be about 16 weeks old to be ready to integrate with the big chickens so that they won't get bullied around. I tried to integrate mine at about 5 weeks old. Yeah, that didn't go so well.
I hear the chicks. Oh, uh-oh. Got one out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sounds like... Uh-oh. Got one that's stuck. Well, that's not good. Okay. Hey, you little guy. Little girl. Alright. You okay? Yeah. Huh. How did that happen? Oh, great. How did that happen?
Well, I say it didn't go well. We had some victories and we had some setbacks. Overall, I realized that it was not going to work. So I built this other little chicken pen to keep them in. So this way they've got their own space. They don't have the pressure from the big chickens, keeping them away from the food. And as they get bigger, this is going to be enough room for them. I thought that I was ready for each phase along the way. Had the brooder ready, had everything ready to go, had my plan for getting chicks into the chicken tractor. Somehow I missed that piece of information about the age for integrating them. So keep this in mind. If you're like me and you started out with grown chickens and you're integrating chicks into the flock, you're going to have a period of time between brooder and integration where you got to have something else to do with those chicks. If you're starting out with chicks and these are the first chickens you've ever owned, don't feel like this doesn't apply to you. This also applies to your chicken coop, chicken tractor, whatever your next setup is going to be for them. Have that ready to go, because I guarantee you, those few weeks that they're in the brooder are going to go by pretty quickly. And if you don't already have that completed, you're going to find yourself on your heels scrambling to make something for them that will suffice. Now, maybe you need that kind of pressure to get work done, and that's fine. You do you. But if you want to have a less stressful chicken owning experience, go ahead and have that ready from the get-go, including the waterer and the feeder for adult chickens, not just chicks. So tip number 1, have everything ready to go before you get your chicks. Tip number 2, be prepared for problems. Tip number 3, have the next step ready. I really appreciate you guys tuning into Are We Homesteading Yet? It really does mean a lot to me that you take your time out to watch and listen to our content, and hopefully also provide some feedback in the comments below. If you enjoy what we're doing, click that like button. That really helps us out. And also click that subscribe button.